Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The two Mikes on Talk Sport.
In Birmingham, that means per 100 people, 58 people a day eat a tin of canned food.
So 58% of the population of Birmingham basically eat a tin of canned food every day?
No, 58 per 100.
Well, that's 58%.
That's 58%, that's right.
That's what I just
58%
said.
of people in Birmingham, eat a tin of food. Well, I don't know, what are you laughing at?
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to The Two Mikes and we're in for Colin Murray all week. Big Sam Allardyce and his revolution start today. He says he's going to find England's missing identity. What is it and where should he start looking for it? He's got a new philosophy for the national team though. Keep clean sheets, score first, winning is the only way, change tactics when necessary and don't lose the ball in your own half. That all sounds great, doesn't it? Presumably we can now win the World Cup. 08717 22 33 444. Also coming up on the show, we've got yet another watch of the day from Mike Parry's vast collection of timepieces. Plus, it's the return of listography, your chance to get three of the best from each of us. You're listening to The Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are The Two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, and a very good morning to you, MG. And I have to say, I do think it's a red letter day for English football. I think we finally appointed an England manager who will give us some hope in the international arena by playing the way that English footballers should play. Years of frustration, these airy-fairy, dreamy, technically brilliant foreign coaches like Fabio Capello, who's technical genius didn't extend to him speaking English, which I always thought was a bit of a handicap. But now we've got a man who's rooted in English football, who I believe has the strength, the character, the skill, the nous, the wherewithal to actually get hold of a group of players who are very, very good players, the top players in England, and to, get them playing the way he wants them to play. And I believe we're going to go through a very, very successful era of international football.
Well, I'm certainly with you in the hopes that it may well be a whole new ball game and it may well be a revolution that begins now. But my trouble is with it is that, we've had so many managers over the years who have not been able to make these very good players play together as a team very well.
I agree.
And it's been a continued failing, really, since, about 1996, you'd have to say. That no manager who has come in has actually managed to make an England team feel exciting.
This 1996 thing, it was the best and all that. That was based on one game, and that was against the Netherlands, against Holland.
Not really.
Right?
I mean, the
it
whole
really
sort of
was,
England,
honestly.
but England were an exciting team to watch playing. That was the thing about them.
Well, the thing is, they had a great opportunity to win it. Can I remind everybody, there was no round of 16 in those days.
Yeah.
You got through your group, then you played the quarters, the semis, the final. You didn't have to beat a lot of teams to win it.
No.
It was our best opportunity ever.
Yeah.
And, of course, if we'd have got past the Germans in the penalty shootout in the semis, we'd have won the competition.
Probably, yeah.
Because we came up against Czechoslovakia, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
in the final.
The fact remains that it was exciting football to watch, and I think that's what many people remember. You may be right.
Yeah.
People may remember it through rose-tinted spectacles and all that.
I think they do a bit.
I mean, it's certainly for a lot of people the last time they were entertained watching an England team play. And instead of that kind of horrible feeling in the pit of your stomach that you got, as we got in the last Euros, as we got in the last World Cup, where the team were full of great players. We had the golden generation. Now we've got the youngest team at the Euros, and nobody seems to have been able to make them work. And Sam Allardyce may be the answer, but I'm not entirely convinced, as this texter has said. Listen to this. Big J says this: how come Sam is good enough now and he wasn't good enough before? Everyone's raving about him when he's been sacked by clubs, praising him up, and when it comes crashing down, he says, I, for one, will be there with a pint of Carling and having a good chuckle. I don't know why
he was good before. I mean, 10 years ago, Steve McLaren got the job, and Sam Allardyce wanted it desperately, and he went for it, and he didn't get it, and he expressed his disappointment then.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Steve McLaren was a disaster.
He was.
That wasn't necessarily his fault. He was the wrong man for the job.
Yep.
I thought Fabio Capello was a disaster.
Yep.
I thought Roy Hodgson was a disaster.
Yep.
So if Sam Allardyce had been appointed 10 years ago, he couldn't have done any worse.
That's true.
That's 10 wasted years.
Yep.
And if you work out that the average a manager was getting paid over those years was about between £3.5 and £4 million, £50 million of English football money straight down the gurgler.
Yeah, and there's no proof yet though that the same people who are choosing him, and I realise realise there are different people sort of, in the
very
mix.
different.
But basically the same people, i.e. the people that run the FA, have now decided that Sam Allardyce is the best choice. However, he's not who they wanted, is he? They wanted Arsene Wenger.
Well, you say that, but that's only according to one report this morning. I find this a very interesting report. This is in the Daily Telegraph, and they say it's exclusive. And they say Sunderland hangover, a man of departure. Arsene Wenger, Frenchman, told the job was his if he wanted it. And the headline says, Allardyce to take England reins after Wenger says no. I mean, I don't accept that. I'm sorry, I normally believe what I read in newspapers, because you and I spent our lifetime working in the national newspaper industry.
Absolutely.
But I do not accept that. I'm sorry, I don't accept that at face value. Arsene Wenger would have been a disaster as the England manager. He's a Frenchman, for goodness sake.
Yeah, but what difference does that make? He's a very, very, high-profile, very, very high-end manager
who's struggled for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but who's won an awful lot of things, many more things than Sam Allardyce has ever won.
He's struggled.
The last thing Sam Allardyce won was with Notts County, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah. The promotion from the third division, as it was in those days.
Yeah.
But Arsene Wenger struggled for as long with domestic matters at Arsenal as the England team has struggled in the international arena. So, anyway, even if it's half true, I'm glad it didn't happen, because I wouldn't have wanted Arsene Wenger. I want Sam Allardyce, and it's about time we gave what I would call a really enthusiastic, red-blooded Englishman, so to speak, the chance to make us proud again of international football.
And I mean, if it is a choice that's made on that basis, then good luck to him and good luck to the England team. But let's hear from some of you people out there as well, because there's a lot of questions to be asked this morning.
Certainly are.
08717 22 3344. Porky is convinced that Sam Allardyce is the best man for the job.
Without doubt.
There must be a lot of fans out there, particularly West Ham fans, who were sick to death of Sam Allardyce and the way that he played football. He didn't want him at the club anymore.
But he got promotion.
But I can't imagine that they would want him as England manager. So we want to hear from some of them.
That's not necessarily their responsibility, their concern. They're 1/20th of the Premier League.
Yes.
And so they have a 5% interest in who the England manager is. I want to read you Sam's philosophy, because I think you were casting a bit of doubt on this earlier. The Sam Allardyce philosophy is 1. The only right way is the winning way. Number 2, clean sheets are the first priority. So now people accuse him of being defensively minded. Well, any manager who doesn't put not conceding goals at the top is mad. The third one, score first. It means you'll win or draw 80% of your games. Never lose the ball in your own half. Most goals are scored from 4 passes or fewer, and always adapt tactics depending on the opposition. So that means don't be rigidly,
but none of that is particularly
tied to one particular form of play.
I don't think there's anything in there that is particularly revolutionary. I mean, if you were to ask Roy Hodgson what his philosophy was before he took over, he would have said exactly the same thing. Winning is the only way. Yes, tick. Clean sheets are the first priority. Yes, tick.
Yeah, well, he didn't tell us that.
Score first.
Well, I don't remember Hodgson telling us that.
Well, I don't know if Allardyce has told us this either.
He has.
This
He's
is
made
his
that
philosophy.
clear.
No, this is his philosophy from his book, which is all very well on paper, but not necessarily the same in practice.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of tweets coming in already. You can tweet us, of course, at the 2 Mics. Neil says this: dreadful appointment will set us back a further 20 years.
Rubbish.
But I hope I'm wrong.
No, you are wrong.
Scott says a continuation of awful appointments continues. He's hated by most club fans he's been involved with, except for the very average Bolton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what people are saying out there.
No, I will concede one thing. He's never worked with the best players in this country at the highest level, because he's never been manager of one of the, what we would call, so-called top 4 clubs.
Yeah.
However...
Some say that's an advantage.
I would say that a top 4 club has missed out not appointing Sam Allardyce. I'd have been very, very happy for him to have been appointed at Everton after Davy Moyes left. I think he would have done a fabulous job. Everton, I would say, would probably have been, in those days, the best club that he would have worked for.
Yeah.
West Ham now are a really growing club, and I accept that, but Everton would have been the best.
Well, you have to say West Ham have done a lot better since he left, haven't they?
Well, yes, but West Ham have a combination of factors as to why they've done better. They've moved stadium, they've got bigger crowds, they've got more money, the new TV deals come in, they've got a much, but that's all more dynamic...
That's all this year. I'm talking about last season.
Pair of guys running the club. I know they were running the club when Sam was there, but they came in with a philosophy they wanted to start from scratch, and Sam was kind of, already there. So, no, Sam did brilliantly, I thought, at West Ham, because... He kind of failure was on the precipice, wasn't it? He didn't get automatic promotion, so he had the last chance. And the last chance, a pretty nerve-wracking last chance. 2 games in the semi-final, 2 legs, and then the final at Wembley, and he got through it. So I don't think he's done anything wrong during his career.
Massive vote of confidence for Sam Allardyce from Porky.
Yes.
I'm still going to be slightly unsure about it. I want to hear from you. 08717 22 3344. This is the 2 Mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. Get 40% off Wix 12-inch oscillating desk fan. It was $19.99. Now it's only $11.24. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There's loads and loads of phone calls to take, and we'll be getting loads of them in very, very shortly. 08717 2233 is the number. First, though, Robin Schönhofer has got some breaking news for us. Robin.
I have. Thank you very much, Mike. Just in the last few minutes, the Court of Arbitration for Sport has upheld that ban on the 68 Russian track and field athletes from going to the Rio Olympics. So the Russia has lost its appeal against the ban that bans the ban against these 68 Russian track and field athletes who wanted to go to the Rio Olympics. We're now going to wait and see what the IOC does about a possible ban for Russia as a nation at the Olympics as well.
Great stuff. Thank you very much indeed. We'll hear more about that throughout the morning, of course, because the big question is, will there be a blanket ban on the whole nation of Russia? We may get to that later on, Mr. Parry.
Indeed.
Shall we head straight to the phones? Because this,
yes,
of course, is the Wix phone-in on TalkSport. And we send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every single day, as decided by the very, very fair Mr. Mike Parry. So have your pen at the ready, Mr. Parry, so that we can check out who to go to first. But Nick, who's a Spurs fan, wants to talk. Nick, a very good morning to you. What do you got to say?
Very good. How are you both?
Yeah, very well,
thank you.
What do you make of it all?
Really pleased.
Yeah, good.
I think for too long now, I think at England we've played it safe and we've had yes men involved. I think Sam Allardyce will bring the passion required to take the England players out of the doldrums and give them that bit of confidence to go and play their way. And for too long now, we've looked at the continental model. And we've tried to bring managers in to try and get us playing the continental way. We need to play the English way. And that's what Sam will bring us. And I think he's been very unfairly brushed with the same kind of brush that Pulis gets about playing only one way.
Yes.
Now, I used to speak to Bolton fans, and they said that when he used to have Yuri Djurkaev and JJ Okocha
That's right.
at Bolton, they saw some of the best football they'd seen for many a year.
Sure.
And I just feel... I know West Ham fans will say... Well, some West Ham fans will say that, the football over there is dull and what, but he can only work with what he's got.
No, that's absolutely true. You're absolutely true there, mate. And when you said about confidence, I don't think it's a crisis of confidence in the players. I think it's a crisis of understanding. If you've got a manager like Roy Hodgson who will swap 6 players in a team in the middle of the second most important competition in the world, then the players are confused. And I think he'll get rid of the confusion.
Mike, I don't think the problem was the 6 players are swapping around. For me, I think the problem was leading up to the tournament. I believe that Big Sam will come in. He will have one formation, a set formation. He may tinker the players within that formation, but the formation and the way that he wants the boys to play will be a blueprint that he'll carry forward into the tournament. The problem for me wasn't the 6 changes. The problem for me with Hodgson was that in the build-up, warm-up games going into the Euros, we played one formation, and in the first game of the group, we tore up the blueprint and went to something completely different that we've not even worked on.
Yeah.
I mean, you will get organisation with Big Sam. He might not be everyone's cup of tea, but listen, I saw him when he was West Ham manager against my Spurs. When he was Newcastle manager against my Spurs. We were always the more favoured side going into those ties. He gave us hell. And if England go into a game against France, against Spain, as the unfavoured side, all Sam has got to do is get those boys organised for that 90 minutes, and we're through to the next round. It's a knock. I think he's going to be perfect, boys. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be an interesting period, isn't it, Nick? Because another qualifying sort of series of games starts in September. First game against Slovakia, and you can tell, I suppose, straight away by how England played against Slovakia in the Euros as to how they play against them now with Sam Allardyce at the helm. But it's not almost as though there's not that much missing from the England setup. There's just one very vital piece of machinery, which is whatever the manager can make the players do, because we all know what they've got. He just needs to be able to insert one kind of magic button, if you like, to make it all work.
Yeah, I think it's the confidence it'll give him. And I'll tell you another thing that you won't get with Big Sam as well is all the egos, all the reputations, all the players that are, they're England's great player, and I know they've just come back from injury, but they're one of the best we've got. He won't care if he's got to take a player who's got a bit less talent. If he's fresh and he's fit and he's performing like Drinkwater, Drinkwater should have gone to that tournament. I feel for the lad.
Well, I totally agree. The ego problem won't be apparent because the players came back from the last tournament with all their egos completely deflated.
Well, you would think so.
You won't have any ego problems there. What you will have is a battle that Sam Allardyce will undertake to rebuild their egos to try and make them feel important and good footballers.
Because remember when people said that about David Moyes when he first went into Old Trafford? In fact, you were one of the people that said it, that, if you go into a room where all the players have got more than you've ever won,
that's right.
Then, you might have a problem. Sam Allardyce might have that problem. Let's talk to Simon, who's a West Ham fan. He might have a different view from the last caller. Simon, good morning.
Well, it's not too different. But my view of Allardyce was when I was before he went to West Ham, I never liked him as a manager, and the reason I didn't like him as a manager was we could never a team he was manager of. And when he did come to us, and as the Tottenham Sport just said, he only could work with what he had, even though I didn't like the way he set our team out and the way it played. He's going to be playing with players, one or two players who've got some class, and maybe if he brings in one or two other players that were mentioned during the Euros that didn't get a look in, we might have a chance. I think he's a pretty good appointment for England.
OK. All right, Simon, thank you very much indeed. Chris is another Spurs fan. Chris, very good morning to you. What would you like to say?
Oh, hello. Yeah, I basically like to say to Porky that, if you was the manager of a company, a top company, you'd want the best candidate on earth for the job. Now, if you're looking purely at CV and some of international experience, Gus Hiddink is your man. Now, I want Greg Dyke on the phone now. I want to ask him, why have they not approached Gus Hiddink? It's scandalous.
Well, they might have done. They might have done. They've had all this big talking, this powwow with powers around the world. I think Gus Hiddink
they talked to Steve Bruce, didn't they? They talked to Steve Bruce.
Yes.
They approached Arsene Wenger, who said no, and they offered it to Gareth Southgate, who didn't want it.
Yeah, but why Gus Hiddink?
Well, Gus Hiddink simply because, he's managed at international level before. He did a terrific job with Russia, South Korea, Netherlands in '98. OK, not recently he did. Did a brilliant job with Australia. This guy is well respected by everybody.
I agree. I totally agree. But it was time for an Englishman again. We needed a good Englishman, not a patrician Englishman as Roy Hodgson was. And Sam Allardyce is that man. Look, I can understand you having some doubts if you believe in the purity of the beautiful game, but that's not going to get us victories for players in an England shirt. Sam Allardyce will.
He's not often mentioned in that same sentence, is he? The purity of the beautiful game.
No,
Chris.
No, and I don't want him to be.
Well, the other thing, the only thing I'll say in favour of Allardyce, right, is that I think he is tough. He won't take any rubbish from the players, so to speak. And the only thing as well, this is what I'll say Allardyce as well, maybe it's time for him as the next England manager to look at players from the Championship.
No, it's not. No, they wouldn't be in the Championship if they're any. If they were the best. If they were the best, they'd be in the Premier League. That honestly, I just cannot see any relevance in that whatsoever. I'm sorry, Chris. Good call and all that, mate, but that's going nowhere.
Chris, I don't think he agrees with you on that one. But loads of tweets coming in. Here's one from Tim. Who says, "I'm giving up on England. Such an underwhelming appointment." Rob says, "Big Sam did wonders with Bolton. A top 6 finish with Bolton is the equivalent of a top 4 team winning the Champions League." And Philip says, "Just shows how awful England's coaching setup is when Allardyce is our top choice." Seems to be an awful lot of sort of division on this one, Mr. Parry.
There is a lot of division on it, and the problem is, the FA are to blame for this, not now, but historically, because the FA... It started really when, in the days... Well, it started immediately after Kevin Keegan. Yeah. Because Kevin Keegan was seen to be, just a local lad from Scunthorpe, who got the job done. And
grafter.
I'm telling you, a grafter. And never a great footballer.
But he was a pretty good footballer.
He was a very good footballer, and he won lots of things, and he was one of the first footballers to go to the continent and succeed with Hamburg in Germany. But the point is, when he went, the next thing was, let's get Sven-Goran Eriksson in. And from that moment on... I always wondered why the FA thought that the only good England manager was a man with an exotic foreign name, an exotic foreign lifestyle, a track record of winning things with continental clubs if possible, and actually an air of mystery about him. I don't want an air of mystery about an England manager. I want to know exactly what he's thinking.
But is there not also now a perception that international football is so different from club football in any level, whether it's in European or whether it's in the Premier League, that perhaps Sam Allardyce's experience is not the kind that you need?
Well, yes, but the problem is that Sam Allardyce's experience is exactly what we need, in my view. Because I keep going on about Fabio Capello, but which half-bake decided that a man who can't speak English was the man to motivate football? Sam speaks great English, and what I mean by that is he is absolutely
he ought
able.
To, really.
He's no, I mean football English. He's absolutely able to communicate with his players in what he wants them to do, and not only in words but in actions, in deeds, in showing them the way it's worked, the way it can work, the way it should work. And you can't do that unless you're absolutely immersed in the English game, which he has been for 30 years.
OK, well, we'll be taking lots more of your calls on the Wix phone-in, of course, 08717 22 3344. We're going to talk to David James as well, former England goalkeeper. This is TalkSport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, of course. We've got loads going on today. We've got the news coming in about the Russian athletes. We've also got the referees' decisions to talk about as well later on, Mr. Parry. Right now, though, we're talking about Sam Allardyce, the Sam Revolution. Is it going to work, or is it in fact going to be just another dull appointment by a dull FA? Let's talk to David James, former England goalkeeper, 53 caps. David, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, chaps.
Now, what do you make of this appointment? Somebody told me that you, before this appointment was made, suggested that you'd like to see a foreign coach take it over.
Yeah, well, I think, again, it's a difficult one when you're appointing an England manager because and I know Sam has come under this sort of scrutiny a lot, Steve Bruce likewise, when people talk about experience and, you know, what Sam won, what's he done here, what's he done there. And the idea that you want to take England, when I say forward, I mean actually try and win something or at least compete in a final of the finals, then you would argue that someone available, and I'm sure they are out there, the likes of Jurgen Klinsmann, I think I mentioned before, when they've had experience internationally, understand English football, it kind of made sense that he would be one that the FA would be talking to with a view to actually taking over. However, I think the correlation between league management and international management is limited, really, because you know you can't compare domestic football, 9-month football with international football, which essentially is 10 games a season.
But Dave, don't you as a player have some sort of bond, some sort of things? This is what we are about having an English coach. It's all very well having a Jurgen Klinsmann. It's all very well having a Capello, Fabio Capello, who didn't speak hardly any English. But don't you feel that you can get right to the heart of what you're thinking and how the game should be played and how you can do it by discussing that with an English coach who's been in the game like you for 30 years in this country?
Well, firstly, I was with Fabio this weekend, funnily enough.
Oh.
His English is good.
Well, it wasn't in those days when he came here, believe me. I sat down and had lunch with him.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, it was all right with me. I understood everything he wanted to say.
Okay.
A bit like Pochettino when he was doing his interviews with a translator when he was at Southampton, then suddenly developed a very good English accent and language when he was at Tottenham. The point being is, as long as the manager's making sense and you know what it is that he wants you to do, then it works. If he's got fantastic English or not. I have to say, having sort of been involved with numerous nationalities at international level, I found the two foreign coaches to be the best that I've worked with in Sven-Göran Eriksson and Capello in their own individual rights. I think when it comes to the player side, and again, interestingly, when you look at the players that we have in our squads, they are being managed by foreign coaches. So this, I understand the English identity. I fully embrace that. However, if the mentality is pure English with regards to the coach, then you're going against what players are used to on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I didn't say pure. I didn't say pure. It's just that, you're absolutely right about, when they're at clubs, they're under the influence of foreign coaches. But we're talking here about representing England as a country, the Three Lions. And I'm not saying, just because there's an English coach, it makes everything better. I just think it bonds. There's a we are what we have. It is us type feeling.
Yeah, I didn't feel that with Steve McLaren, I have to say.
Well, I don't blame you.
It sounds, David, like you're basically dismissing this argument that you must have an English manager to be a proud Englishman. Surely the more important thing is what's missing and what has been missing. I mean, as you say, even under Fabio Capello and under Sven-Göran Eriksson, under Sven, England actually did a lot better than they've been doing recently. But I mean, what is it that Sam Allardyce has to do to turn England from a disappointing side now to a successful one?
Well, I've got to say, again, it's not that I dislike Sam in any way. My concerns over the appointment of any manager at this moment would be that it's a month since the end of the finals. We've still got 6-7 weeks before the first qualifier, and therefore plenty of time to make that announcement. If the FA feel that they've done all their due diligence and it is going to be Sam, then as an England fan, I'll be back in England. I'll be back in Sam. I think the other thing you got to look into is England's qualification in tournaments. I mean, I think we've lost 1 in 12 games
Something
over
like
2000. Yeah, I mean under Mr. McLaren, we failed to do that, and that's the only time since 2000 anyway. It's kind of 2 years where you think England are going to qualify pretty much irrespective of who the manager is, because we are better than most of the qualifying teams.
Oh, totally agree. It's a farce now, the old... I mean, we could get to the last 2 games, Dave, and they might be dead rubbers, wasting time.
Yeah, but I mean, all the other big sides have got the same problem, so it's not as if we can hide behind that.
Yeah, but then this is a question, are we testing the quality of a manager in a qualification process, which we generally get through quite comfortably?
We're not. You're absolutely right. Roy Hodgson, you mentioned earlier, he just couldn't do it when he got to the finals.
Well, the sort of thing I'm hoping for with Sam, and if you talk about his English mentality, and I'm not questioning his professionalism in any sense at all. But the one thing I did find different with the English to the foreign managers at England managers level was there is a certain aspect of seriousness, and people talk about pressure in the game. I don't see the tense sort of under pressure players playing. I just see a team that for one reason or another aren't good enough at the moment, or haven't been good enough, and I think the results will back that argument. But a more relaxed approach when you're in the squad, and a better feeling and a happier feeling to be part of that England squad, I think is crucial. How you do that, I mean, I don't want to go back 20, 25 years ago when, the first few days were down at the bar, which was standard issue. I mean, that was standard issue across football. I think the professionalism got better. But rather than it be this sort of intense, serious process every minute of the time that you're with England, then I think you're going to get a manager that creates a better environment. So when the players are playing, yes, they're focused. Yeah, they're not stressed. But secondly, they're happy to be part of that squad. And, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Fabio Capello, even this weekend. I mean, he told me a few stories, which are very good. But
Let me ask you this, David, as a player, because we had this situation with David Moyes when he went to Old Trafford. I mean, does it matter to the players how much the manager has achieved at club level, for example? Sam Allardyce will be dealing with players who've won, Champions Leagues. He'll be dealing with players who have been in international football for many, many years. I mean, how will they view him?
Well, I think the key thing there is that the manager, if it looks like it's going to be, but if it's Sam, then he stays true to himself. Because, players are very receptive towards the confidence of a manager, and I think David Moyes is a good example that perhaps his management style changed to go to Manchester United. So not only did you have a change of manager, but you had a manager who had changed himself. So there was a sort of double jointed change there, which players are receptive to. And as soon as they sense any weakness, then they'll lose confidence in a manager. Now, Sam's tactics and his style of football, I think it's cliche phrases being used at the moment.
Absolutely.
But he's changed his style of football, which is encouraging that he can do that.
Yes.
And therefore, as I say, if he sticks to himself, stays true to himself, then players will see that, creates an environment, then you'll get players happy. And I think that's the key thing. Players actually happy to go away to...
And knowing what they're expected to do, Dave, knowing what the manager expects of them, knowing what the coach's plan is when they go out on the pitch, And if he's playing to the strengths of the way the English game goes, good.
Yeah, I think expectation's a key word there, because, it made me laugh this season going into the finals that because we weren't expected to do well, everyone expected that we would do better.
I know.
Which kind of put us straight back in the same position.
Totally agree.
I think the expectation is that we are, England now is not an elite international side.
Yeah. We'd like to be.
We're better than most, and we're capable. And I think, again, and sort of, forgive me for being slightly convoluted, but when you look at what's happening in the under-21s, the under-19s, we've got some young talent there that's going to go through. And I just hope that, obviously, if Sam gets appointed, then there is an understanding that we've got this talent there, combined with the confidence in what he is as a manager.
Yep.
then we do have a good future. I'm not suggesting we win the next World Cup, but what I am saying is that there is a future there. Yeah, and it's just creating that environment for the players to come into and be happy to be there.
Yeah, no, that's great.
David, thank you very much
Dave,
indeed
thanks very much
taking
indeed.
the time to talk to us. David James there, former England goalkeeper, who says that...
David was, didn't I?
Very bright, yeah. I thought he sort of put you in your place a little bit.
No, he didn't put me in place.
You know, that it didn't matter about the English-speaking scenario.
You know, he's a world expert on Game Boy.
Is he really?
I told you that.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier.
In the early days of electronic games, he got onto it very early, and on the coach and in the hotels and all that. He used to run up record scores.
I wonder if he's on Pokemon Go.
Well, I've no idea.
But he said it didn't. You know, Fabio Capello's English was great, but I wonder about
that is now. That is now.
Yeah.
It wasn't when he got here.
But I wonder also about the whole situation with Sam Allardyce. We'll take loads more of your calls coming up very shortly in the Wicks phone in 08717 22 33 444. Because England now, as he said, no longer an elite team internationally. They're not really a quarter-finalist now in the Euros, and they're certainly not anywhere near the quarter-finals in the World Cup. No. We want to hear from you. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes, and this is the Wicks phone-in. We get £100 worth of Wicks gift card to send out to the best caller every day. Mr. Parry's already taking very, very copious notes about various different phone calls that have come in so far. The number is this, 08717 22 3344. Is the Sam Allardyce revolution one that you will get behind? Let's talk to Scott, who's a West Ham fan. Scott, very good morning to you.
Good morning, boys. Good morning.
What do you reckon about Sam Allardyce?
I feel on the first call that's going to be, thinking like most West Ham fans, I think this morning, it was absolutely devastated. He was an England fan as well. I feel like this took us back 20, 30 years to the days of Graham Taylor. It's going to be another complete disaster, in my opinion. I've never been more uninspired by football, by anyone, more than that bloke. I'll give my season ticket up because of him. And Porky said earlier about he got us up and all that. Yeah. We had the best squad that year by a mile in that league. We should have won that league by a mile. We got to the final of a playoff and got outplayed by Blackpool and scraped through. He then had a little bit of a spell with us when we seemed to play a little bit of football, but most of that season was just dire.
Well, why did you get relegated the season before then, Scott?
Well, I'm not saying that the manager before him was any better. It was Avram Grant. He was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and then what Sam had to do is he had to rebuild the squad during the summer in just a few weeks, and then get you back into the Premier League. That was his brief, and he did exactly that. He couldn't be pretty about it.
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is this is an England job. At the end of the day, his attitude to football, no matter what standard and what team he's at, is we get 0-0, we get one goal in front. If we score a goal in the first 10 minutes in an England game, you will see the most negative next 80 minutes you'll ever see. Now, you might say that's good. We're going to win 1-0.
No, I'm not saying that's good, but I think it'll depend on who we're playing. It really will. You know, his philosophy is not, score one and shut up shop. His philosophy is don't concede.
I've watched our club for 4 years play that philosophy, to be honest. And if any West Ham fan says we didn't, then they're talking rubbish. I mean, everything that comes out of his mouth, it's always about him. Years ago, he run our club down to the hill, but he obviously then took the job there. I've read quotes from his books this morning where he's quoted the 3 C's about the FA last time we got interviewed. Yeah. But he's obviously changed his opinion now. I mean,
they are different people.
Time does sometimes alter people's perspective.
Exactly.
But, I mean, the thing is, Scott, people might not care, as England fans, you obviously would be an exception, how England win games anymore. I mean, the fact is England need to win more games. They need to get further in tournaments. And if it means that Sam Allardyce is going to make them into a boring side, I mean, when was the last time you watched England and you didn't think it was boring?
Yeah, well, I must admit, under Hodgson, I must admit, I didn't think we could go any more low than him. But I think we've gone sideways. I think we've gone sideways.
Now, is it true, by the way, Scott, that you're now going to buy a Scotland shirt?
Yeah, I did tweet you earlier on. I did say to all the boys, because I got one. I got to find one.
I think that's treacherous talk, that is, Scott, honest to God. I mean, are you happy that he's an Englishman at least?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I've said for years, and I'm a West Ham fan, the perfect manager of England's Wenger. For he should be doing the job from the 16s up to the top. Get us playing how he's played for Arsenal all these years, which does work in England because he proves it. And I thought all along we would then play with a bit of style and quality and start matching up to these teams like Spain.
That's too much to ask. Honestly, in a revolution where we need to start winning, it's too much to ask that not only do we start winning as regularly as Germany, but we win it with the style of the Dutch team of the 1970s. I mean, it's impossible. It's an impossible dream.
It is possible.
It's a good dream, but it's impossible.
Scott, thanks very much indeed. Ryan agrees with him, though. He says Allardyce is a stopgap until Arsene Wenger is ready to leave Arsenal. He isn't the long-term plan. No, Arsene Wenger is. David says Sam has never managed top-level players because the top club's chairmen have never trusted him with their teams.
That's right. And I think they're wrong to have been so recalcitrant.
Let's talk to Andrew, who's a Spurs fan. Hello, Andrew.
Hi there.
Yeah, what would you like to say?
Well, basically, I, for once, actually agree with Mr. Parry, which is quite unusual.
It is unusual, very unusual. Red letter day.
I'm going to kill myself after the call. Basically, I do agree that it is maybe a bit of a sideways move, but surely it's better to have some blood and guts and, proper English play, like, going way back to Terry Butcher and all that, to somebody who actually cares. And, I'd rather win 1-0 than play exciting football and get dumped. I mean, I'm a Spurs fan. I'm used to glorious failure.
Yeah, well, you're not. You won't be soon. You had a great season last season. You could have won the Premier League title. You might do it this season. You're in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing all right. But I mean, I feel the West Ham fans are a bit strong on Allardyce because he went in there, he steadied the ship, he did a decent job. All right, it wasn't exciting football, but he steadied the ship, and I think that's laid the foundations for where they are now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
I think he could do the same thing with England.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, and that's one reason why I welcome it with such open arms. At least we know what Sam Allardyce is all about. He's been in this country for 30 years. We know exactly what he's all about. We had no idea what Mr. Capello was all about. And we didn't really have much idea what Sven-Göran Eriksson was about when he first came.
Well, I mean, what about Roy Hodgson as well? I mean, people seem to be forgetting, how awful Roy Hodgson's regime was.
Oh, well, absolutely. Sorry, sir. Go on, you were saying.
Well, he did it. Well, we tried the foreign way, and we tried Hodgson. All right, he had some success with Switzerland, who were they did all right when he was there. But again, that was very
so blinking what? That's all I can say to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that was part of the reason why he got the England job is because he did have some success with Switzerland. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have had. I would have picked Harry or pretty much anybody over the Roy Hodgson at the time.
Exactly.
I think the FA have got to get the blinkers off. They've got to get somebody and stop. Because I think the FA interfered with the team as well.
Yep.
I just think they've got to get somebody in there who's going to go, no, I'm going to do this my way. Let me just let me get on with it. Leave it alone, and I think he'll do all right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I admire your confidence and your ability to see through all the waffle about Sam Allardyce.
Or even the waffle. Let's talk to John, who's a West Ham fan. Andrew, thanks very much indeed. John, what do you want to say?
Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Two options, two issues, really. First of all, Sam's tactics. After watching West Ham a lot of games under his tutorship. And the second one, the quality of the English squad of players at the present time. First of all, last year at West Ham, most of the players had played the year before under Sam. I can guarantee you one thing. Dimitri Payet would have hardly seen a ball under Sam last year if he had still been there. The situation with Sam as far as his game management is if you go a game behind, he changes it desperately by putting one extra striker up front and still banging a ball 40 or 50 yards every time we get it. I can't see that changing. I can't see that changing at international.
Well, let's get to the second one. We haven't got a lot of time, John. I mean, the quality of the players up front, certainly for England, you might say, are slightly better. So why not give them more chance to get the ball?
Well, I'll give you the rundown on it, basically. And you might think this is something from a Welshman, but the quality of players, if you go through the English squad that went away in the last tournament, dodgy keeper for a start, at the back four there's not one top player there. Neither of the full-backs could defend. And you want to hope that neither of those centre-backs start your next campaign. Very ordinary midfielders. What I will say is there are a few that he could bring into the squad, which he's already played with, which I'll leave that down to you. But what he has got against him, if he sticks with the nucleus at the present squad, and I can give you something I've seen with my own eyes.
Well, you can't give us anything. You can't give us too much, John, I'm afraid, because we've got to cut you short there. But thanks very much indeed for your call.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
What's the most famous thing that ever came out of Denmark?
Well, I know, Hans Christian Andersen.
No, bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah. They were the first people to realise that you could turn a pig into a bacon sandwich.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to Two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray all week. We've been talking about the Sam Allardyce revolution, just been endorsed by Jose Mourinho and Sir Alex Ferguson as well, who say he's the best choice for the job. Coming up in this hour, we'll be talking about referees and the new code of conduct for players in the coming season in the Premier League. Also, we'll keep taking your calls as well, 08717 223344. Later on, we'll have another watch of the day from Mr Parry's vast collection of timepieces, and it's a return of listography as well, so we'll be getting stuck into that. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is the Wix phone-in, of course, and there's a £100 Wix gift card waiting for the best caller of the day. So we're going to go straight back to the phones, Mr Parry, and talk to Paul, who's a Sunderland fan, because Sunderland have been a bit forgotten in all of this, because they're now in the search currently for a new manager.
Indeed.
Paul, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Michaels.
What would you like to say, Paul?
Well, Mike, to be quite honest, it's very simple. Last season, what I would say is the Sunderland had Sam Allardyce. We were absolutely delighted for him, and this about his style and what the media are saying, and a lot of other football fans in England, that his style won't suit England. Big Sam's a winner, but I'll tell you, last season, when we played towards the end of last season, I think we lost 1 in the last 10, and it was great football that was being played all the time, and it was great to watch. But what will happen with Allardyce, as much as I'm happy for him personally, because I think he deserves this job, at the end of the day, it's going to be the simple case that the media and the fans will destroy him. The same guys that are really going
Sorry,
on...
why'd you say that? Well, how can they destroy him? He does a good job, and I think he's going to do a good job. He will... I mean, you know, this is cause and effect. The media only reflect the way the fans react to an England team. If an England team do well, you will find that he will be buoyed up by the amount of collective support he'll get from fans, from commentators, from, you know, lobby groups within football. It's a positive thing, believe me.
No, but Mike, we have this thing as English people that we have to win. We have to win a certain way, and all the rest of it. At the moment, our national team is brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Now,
sorry, are you talking as an Englishman or a Scotsman here?
I'm English, believe me. I'm
right,
English.
well, that's great. That's great. No, I'm delighted you are. That's not a problem. But what I don't understand is this thing. You're now including me in a race of people who say we have to win a certain way. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying win.
No. What I'm saying is basically the last 2 England managers that have been appointed. Sam's been up there. He was the second choice and possibly the third choice before that. But he was in the frame for a job.
Yeah,
he's an absolute top coach. It's a total myth that he doesn't play nice football. Ask any Sunderland man.
To be fair, Paul, I mean, people accuse the media of this all the time. In almost every paper today and yesterday, when it's become clear that Sam Allardyce has got the job, the myth of him playing, you know, boring football, long ball football, has been completely blown away by lots of people writing in the media about how it's not true. So I'm not quite sure. Let me ask you one final question, Paul, because we've got to rush. What about David Moyes, next manager for Sunderland?
Well, I think we've been caught on the hop with the whole Sam Allardyce. As far as I'm concerned, David Moyes, if we can get the David Moyes we got at Everton, I heard you guys mention very earlier on in the show that, or somebody mentioned that he changed his personality or his management style at Man United. If we can get the David Moyes back at Everton, sort of the tracksuit manager, I think we'll be in for a very good season. But we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. We need some signings.
Yeah, no, that's true.
All right, Paul, let's go to Andrew, who's a Man United fan. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, what would you like to say, Andrew?
Great show, guys. Well, I phoned up a couple of weeks ago just to say that I think Allardyce should get the job.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's going to get the job. I think he's fantastic as a manager. You know, I'm a Man United fan, but, you know, I've watched him through the years and everything, and he's always done well. I've got to say, hats off to the FA for taking the chance with him, because you've got managers in the past that have done well, which are a bit like entrepreneurs, if you want to say. You know, they're their own men, such as like Terry Venables and people like that. If you look at Mourinho and Alex Ferguson, they weren't yes men. They were people of their own mind and want to do what they do. And the FA have sort of like, maybe down to David Gill, I don't know, have said, right, let's go for Allardyce. Let's give him a chance and let's see how we go. And I just hope, for his sake, they back off and they let him run the whole show. I tell you now, guys, let's say it seriously, guys. I'm putting a bet on for England to win the World Cup.
Well, I don't feel as...
I think you might be getting a bit carried away, Andrew.
Yeah, the thing is, Andrew, I don't feel as confident as that. But I guarantee to anybody who's listening there will be a marked improvement in the way the England team play, because Sam Allardyce will imbue within them a sense of self-belief, a confidence, a proper plan as to how 11 players on a football pitch integrate with each other to get the best out of the 90 minutes that were on the pitch.
You've just said integrate there. I watched the World Cup. I watched the Euros before when it was on, and I've got to say, he will not put up with some of these strikers being selfish like they are. Because if you look at the England team, you know, they were being selfish, trying to get the glory. They didn't play like Wales did as a team, passing it about and not just looking for the glory. They need to pull together as a team. And Allardyce won't put up with that kind of messing about. He'll just tell them, or he'll put them on the bench. And I think it's the best we've got. And like you say, Englishmen again, which I'm happy about. And I just hope that the FA back off now all the fuddy-duddies that we've got in there, and they leave him alone to it and let him get on with it.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, listen, thanks very much indeed for the call. Thanks very much indeed. We've got time for one more call. Just before that, we haven't got a prize for the best texter today, but I think Andy from Canterbury might get close to it, right? He goes, Sam Allardyce's phone number, 0800 10 10 10.
Yeah.
That's good, isn't it?
Bit of a joke,
why have the FA put him in charge of England? Just look at the bigger picture. No top team in any country would have him as manager. He's the middle-of-the-road manager at most. I know the England team are a middle-of-the-road team at the moment, but surely you get the best in charge to make them better. Well, we've tried that, Andy, so I think you've got to give this guy a go. Joe's a Bolton fan in Manchester. Joe, very good morning to you.
Hiya, good morning. I'm actually in Bolton.
Okay.
Hiya, can I approach this from a completely different angle with a bit of a curveball?
Yes. You haven't got a great deal of time, Joe, so do your best.
All right. Well, I have a lot of affection. This is said with a lot of affection, not disrespect. And for no justifiable reason, I feel kind of proud. I'm going to go back to the 1970s Bolton Wanderers team when Sam first came into it. We had two very exceptionally good centre-halves. They were classy, they were stylish. And when Sam first came in when they were injured, we all thought, what on earth is this? You know, he looked like the Incredible Hulk. He operated like Peter Kay, booting it into the stands, have it. But he developed, he adapted, he learned, he listened, and he became a stylish player in a stylish team, quite incredibly. Don't judge this book by its cover. He will absorb. He will go into that dressing room after the way they performed in the tournament, and he will be one of the few people that can go in and say, "You set of plonkers," and they'll laugh about it. Some people would go in and would be offended, would upset the players. He will generate a team spirit.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I have no doubt, and that's very, very important.
And that's what's been lacking, I suppose.
Yes.
Joe, thank you very much indeed. Thanks for all your calls. Take some more calls on this a little bit later on in the show. We've got much more coming up, though, because we've got many, many other things to discuss.
We need to be talking about referees.
We need to
There's
talk
a
about
refereeing revolution coming, and we're
is.
going to be on top of it.
There is, and of course, we're going to be hearing from our special guest referee coming up, who's going to tell us exactly what he thinks of these new rules of engagement. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. The Sam Revolution is underway, and we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, throughout the course of the day right here on TalkSport. But there's another big story that we need to get our teeth into, Mr. Parry. And as you said earlier, it's another FA revolution, really.
That's right.
All about a crackdown on players abusing referees.
Yes.
And discipline in particular. We're going to talk to Keith Hackett now, former Premier League referee, a man who's refereed a few rowdy games in his time, most notably that Man United-Arsenal game, which ended up in a 21-man brawl. Oh. Keith, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning. I remember that match, and remember that the FA then clamped down by deducting points from both teams, and it had a fairly positive effect.
Right.
It did, yeah.
And what do you think of this zero-tolerance crackdown on what's being called intolerable treatment of referees? I mean, do you think it's getting worse as far as the way the players approach referees?
I think it has grown in a problem area and become a problem at grassroots football as well. You know, the big game at the top level, the elite level, has a responsibility. But clampdowns last for about 6 weeks. And less. And therefore, I think it is about managing the referees. There's no change to the laws of the game. It's the FA, the Premier League and the Football League deciding this is what they want to do. And, I'm always fearful that red cards mean that there's less enjoyment for the people who pay to go and watch the games.
No, that's absolutely right. Keith, what I don't understand here is, first of all, I regard this as the annual refs get tough type announcement. Seems to be one every summer, getting tough about, I don't know, diving or something like that. But what I don't understand here is that referees are human beings like footballers are, and reading between the lines, it seems to me that if if a referee denies a player a penalty, and he might be quite justified in doing it, but he's 20 yards away, that player then is not allowed to get up and run towards the referee to protest because he genuinely thinks he's been given the benefit of a bad decision, and the referee then has to take discipline, book him, or maybe even send him off for showing the sheer human emotion and anger and drive that a professional footballer has to have inside him to be a top player.
See, that's the difficulty of the referee. I mean, I was always one that said manage effectively off the field by communicating with players, regularly visiting the clubs, talking to managers, and probably as then the head of refereeing, taking a bit of the heat for what the referees are doing on the pitch. There's no communication from the PGMOL. There's no strong leadership. Look, we've seen in the European Championships good quality refereeing presented by a man called Kalina, who was given leadership. And therefore, he pre-warned the teams, the players. Look, these are the things we don't want for the image of the game. Now, I think the authorities are in a bit of a rock and a hard place. They've got to do something. Get on with the game, get on with each other, get on with the referee.
But what about an angry footballer? This is the basic thing, Keith. An angry footballer. Are you going to book an angry footballer because, he's so wound up in the game and he thinks he's been given a bum decision?
I think you have to cut that out somehow, don't you?
Well, I think that you've got to get in the clubs and say, look, if you do this, this is what you're going to do. But, Mike, you're talking about passion, and there's massive passion. There's a massive incentive to win in the Premier League, big bucks. There's also a responsibility, and the responsibility here is the image of the game, our game that's transmitted around the world live. And therefore, I think what we're asking is, I think what's been asked is managers and coaches to behave responsibly. But I'm fearful that, this annual sort of clampdown has an effect, and it spoils our enjoyment and lasts for about 6 weeks and peters out.
Or it lasts until the first mistake is made by a referee who somehow gives a red card for something which then gets reversed later. But isn't it also about the managers, not just the players? Because, we've seen, obviously, it looks like Sam Allardyce is going to get the England job in the next 24 hours or less. Sam Allardyce has not exactly been a saint on the touchline. We've had, Jose Mourinho and others on the touchline. I mean, the players kind of echo the way their managers are, don't they?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, it's a sideshow, isn't it? I mean, the technical area, it didn't exist when I first started refereeing. It's now a sideshow and becomes part of the entertainment factor. Look, I don't think that we want a game that's suppressed and everybody's nice on the field of play. That's not the game that we know and love. If we look back in the history, we've seen hard players, hard tacklers, and in fairness, we've all enjoyed it. And I think Richard Scudamore explained today the difficulty that referees have got applying this because, they've been asked to apply a little bit of common sense. But the truth is, it's like everything else. If you go to a zero-tolerance state, which referees will do, then some weak referees will come to the fore because they love brandishing the red and yellow card.
Yeah.
And some of the referees where we've seen positive man management, and we've got a few of those in the Premier League, although slightly limited, will use their man management skill to deal with it on the day.
Yeah.
And I think the risk is they're taking that away. They're taking this management process that is part of what I think is an important aspect in refereeing.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, I just don't think you can ask referees to interpret the mood of a player in a crisis situation when he's just been denied a decision he thought he should have, and he picks up the ball and slams it in the ground. According to these new guidelines, you've got to book him now. I mean, that to me is very, very wrong, because what do we want? Do we want a sanitised game where actually there'll be no noise in the stadium, there'll be no reaction from the players?
But wasn't there meant to be a case for the only person that can talk to the referee is the captain of the team?
Well, that's rubbish.
I'm sorry if a player is too
rubbish.
angry to be able to handle himself. He should stay away from the referee and leave it to the captain. Isn't that right, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, get on with the game, get on with each other was brought in some years ago, and if you like, enforce the role of the captain, in fact, to help to control the players. But, ultimately, it's down to the leader. Is Mike Riley, the head of the PGMOL, going to follow this through? Are the FA, in the disciplinary process, going to issue the right sort of levels? But, you better get a spare seat in the if you like, in the director's box for the managers, because, they're getting paid for results and they do lose it a bit. Are we going to see them suddenly walking up to the stand? And, we've seen spats in the past, haven't we?
Sure.
People who are normal, genuine people, but love the game, but, as you say, Mike, get extremely passionate.
Yeah, well, they're bound to. I mean, I thought it was ridiculous that Vardy was given an extra match ban, 1 game extra ban, because the boy genuinely thought he'd been pulled down and genuinely thought he deserved a penalty. Nobody agreed with him on the day, and they said you'd be assimilating and all that. And because he expressed that to the referee in very strong terms, he got an extra match ban. I think there should be a bit more of an allowance made there.
Well, I think, Mike, on that one, if the referee had pointed and said there's no penalty kick and ran away, not that he's running away from the problem, but he's taking up a position up the field, it takes two to have an argument. So referees, get out of the way.
Yeah, no, that's a good piece of advice. That's a good piece of advice,
Absolutely right.
Kenny, just before you go, by the way, I tell you that Mr. Kalina is not any sort of a hero on this programme. I'm an Everton fan. Villarreal, when we were going to qualify for the Champions League, and the dough-ball-headed Kalina ruled out, a goal that could have taken us there from our hero, Duncan Ferguson. So don't bring him in on this show again.
It's always personal with you.
I remember that distinctly, so sorry to bring that thought up.
Yeah.
Well done, Keith.
Just
well
a
done.
Nightmare.
You've just ruined Mr. Parry's morning. Thank you very much indeed. Shocking that you should bring personalities into this.
Exactly.
Just because you bore a grudge against the guy for such a long time.
Exactly.
This is the Two Mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. Half price on selected tiling and flooring with an extra 15% across the range when you buy online. The offer ends on the 2nd of August. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about jousting, because there are some people who think it should be included as part of the Olympics. And
I didn't even know
in
this modern day and age, people actually did joust. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I see it come occasionally because they do these kind of medieval fairs and things. And medieval sort of reenactments and that kind of thing. And so you see it in those circumstances, but I didn't know that there was a sort of serious side to it where it's actually competitive.
Well, funnily enough, I first saw a report on it a few weeks ago, and National Trust involved, and I thought, no, I've misread that, but now to see that people actually do it. Listen, the other thing, because it's summer, which rears its ugly head at this time of the year, and people
There's
walking
nothing
around...
ugly about summer.
There is to me. The oppressive sort of heat that we're suffering at the moment is just beyond me. I don't know how I got home last night. I nearly died of exhaustion.
Did you?
Just walking up the road.
Maybe you should get some more sleep.
Well, you can't sleep in this sort of weather.
Well,
but anyway.
last night, actually, it cooled down to such an extent that I was able to finally get under the duvet.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the sort of microcosm, sort of geographical, location of your place is. But
it's by the river.
Yeah, well... It didn't happen to me, and it happens when I live on the coast. You just open the window and poof, the breeze from the Isle of Wight comes in. It's not a problem.
The Isle of Wight breeze.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that you have to worry about these days is in this sort of weather are people walking around in shorts.
Yeah.
Now, generally speaking, I don't object to that.
That's very good of you.
In the sense that, I understand why people want to feel they want to expose more of their flesh to the air because it's too hot and all that.
Well,
however,
it's not really about exposing flesh, though, is it?
I don't approve it in the working environment.
Really?
And if I had anything to do with it, I wouldn't let people walk around in shorts.
I've seen you in here with shorts on.
Only late at night.
Yeah.
Only if we're doing a very late show.
Well, that's still a working environment for me.
It doesn't offend anybody.
Well, you don't ask me first.
Well, you've never said you were offended. So
that's because I'm a much more tolerant individual than you are.
Well, you say that, but I don't think that's true. But anyway, look, the reason I'm telling you this is because this guy who's a truck driver turns up work in shorts.
Yeah.
First of all, he's docked his wages, then he was sent home, and then he was told not to bother coming back.
Well, he must have done it more than once then.
Well,
so is that 3 separate occasions?
No, it's all on the same occasion.
Really?
He said, he said, I was told it's more likely to be a health risk.
Yeah.
He said, it's more likely for me to provide a health risk if I'm wearing trousers in the cab. I mean, the temperatures hit over 30 degrees.
I mean, I'm sure if you're driving a lorry around the country and you're basically, your interaction with customers is limited, isn't it? I mean, you're only pulling into a delivery point. It's not as if you're having to
your legs a lot, do they?
Well, no, but I mean, also you don't meet. It's not like you're at a point of sale where you're. I can understand, for example, if you were working in a supermarket, you might have a rule that said, please don't wear shorts unless they're sort of regulation.
I totally agree.
But if you're actually driving a truck and nobody actually sees your legs for hours on end, I think that's unreasonable.
I totally agree. Now, this is Montgomery Transport in the city of Preston.
Oh, yeah.
They refused to let him drive when he turned up for work. So he said...
I'm amazed by that.
He said, I drove home to get changed into my normal work pants, long trousers. Right. But then the agency rang and said, don't bother coming back. I was staggered.
Right.
Lost a day's wages and now I've lost my job. I'm all for safe practice in our industry, but I don't get this. I've asked other drivers, none of them have heard it, and the company concerned, Montgomery Transport, have not issued any sort of response to this claim.
I mean, it's not a case of health and safety, presumably, where he's maybe in situations where he might need to be protecting his legs in some way, shape or form. But we had a rule here at
this
Talk
guy,
Sport.
sorry, I've got to correct this. Sorry to interrupt you. He hasn't lost his job. It was when he would send home to put his shorts on. He then got a call to say, don't bother coming back for the rest of the day. So, but so he lost 1 day's pay.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was because of the shorts. I mean, there was a rule here under previous management that shorts were not to be worn around the office.
Well, I tried to check this out this morning, and they said it was actually a combination of shorts and flip-flops. Now, flip-flops I do regard as offensive and dangerous. First of all, they catch under,
they're beachwear,
your feet.
Aren't they?
They're beachwear. They expose people's filthy, disgusting, broken and gnarled feet to the atmosphere, which I don't want to see.
Not broken and gnarled.
No, I don't want to see that. But not only that, if you're... I mean, you get clusters of people around all busy railway stations. The number of times I've seen somebody tread on a flip-flop when the person's heel has been raised to go forward, and that started a punch-up. Somebody said, what are you treading on my feet for? So I'm not treading on your feet, you left your flip-flop on the ground. And that can cause real problems. They should be banned, definitely.
Do you remember stepping on my foot last Saturday night at rugby?
No.
Because you did, on the stage, deliberately.
No,
you walked all the way over from where you were sitting to step on my blue suede shoe.
Oh, I think I did, just to ruin your new shoe.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't very sociable.
Well, I didn't ruin it, because I had a pair of very expensive
Velcro type
leisure shoes
shoes for
with a rubber sole. No, they weren't from Sports Direct actually, with a rubber sole, and it didn't damage them at all. It was just, in effect, I was just putting you in your place with your blue suede shoes, which of course you only wore because it's a very famous Elvis song.
Well, I wore them because I rather like the look of them. A lot of people were remarking actually on your early picture that you put out this morning, because you arrived here at approximately 7 a.m. 3 hours before the show starts.
Your goat, that,
trying to mock me for not being here as well.
Got your goat. You didn't didn't
particularly get my goat.
Throw a paddy, didn't you?
I don't throw paddies, but you were pictured holding up a copy of the front page of the Times.
Yes.
And in front of the clock to prove that, in fact, you were here at the time you said you were here.
Exactly.
Which is fair enough, of course. Some people have highlighted the shoes that you're wearing, which they've suggested look very small. And yes, they are lace-ups, but once again, they are kind of what you might call leisure-type product shoes. And the shirt, which looks like you've slept in it, they say.
Well, you can say all of that you like. My shoes can only fit the size of my feet. My feet are size 9.
Well, you say they're size
9 and a half,
they
or
look
10.
very small size 9s.
Well, I can't help the optical illusion. That's the size my feet are.
Okay.
Listen, the other thing that got my goat this morning, I know it got your goat that I was here so early getting on with life while you were still in your pitch.
I just don't know why you come in so early.
Well, you were rather explosive when you got in yourself, weren't you? Rather
not particularly
disappointed that things were moving on.
No. I'm very happy for you to come in and prepare as much as you prepare.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, preparation is very important.
Somebody's got to do it.
But you don't have to be here to do it. That's my point.
Well, there's ways of working.
I'm constantly working. My mind is constantly whirring with ideas.
Really?
Yeah.
Golly, never see any of them.
Do you?
Right, now then...
Well, that's because you don't pay attention to anybody else's ideas.
What I was going to say to you was that it took me about 6 months to get that famous blue tick on my Twitter account.
You were quite annoyed about that, because I got mine before you, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't know how you got yours before me.
Well, because I was recognised as a voice of sanity and some form of public figure.
Yeah, but you're not more important in the media world than I am.
Well, you see, I don't worry about that. You see, I don't look at you and
I
look at you and say, are you more important than me? To me, that's not a question that ever occurs
to me, it's vital.
Why?
And at the time, this is going back about a year now, there was no way in the world you were more important as a person who put his mark on the media world than me.
But that's why you get so worked up about it.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Every year, for example, The Guardian, your favourite newspaper, puts out, the 100 most important people in the media.
Yes.
Have you ever been in it?
No. But I wouldn't expect to be,
so
because
there's
a lot of them are namby-pambies.
What does that mean?
Well, they have weird jobs in weird areas of the
weird
media.
Jobs, like the head of the BBC.
Recognised only by indulgent sort of politically motivated journos, or so-called journos, social commentators.
You'd like to be in it, though, wouldn't you?
I have no desire whatsoever to be publicly acknowledged as good at my job because I have the self-confidence to know it's there.
So why does it matter to you that I'm viewed as more important to you in the media?
No, it doesn't.
Well,
it's just an
does.
injustice. I don't think we have to go through life suffering injustices. Anyway, what I was going to say to you was...
injustice.
I have read today...
got a blue tick.
I have read today the most outrageous thing, and that is that you only get a blue tick if you can prove to Twitter you are... a
bona fide
important person.
Well, I mean, it used to be the rule that you had to be in some way in the public domain
exactly,
or something like
exactly. But you've got to be important to get a blue tick, okay? And that's why they go through the process very carefully. Now they're saying, "No, actually, we're going to relax the rules and load more people can have blue ticks."
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to be a member of the Great Unwashed.
Well, guess what? You already are.
What?
You already are a member of the Great Unwashed.
No, I'm not.
I don't mean in the unwashed sense. I just mean that, you're not part of the elite, are you?
No. The point is that there's a distinction between people with a blue tick on Twitter and people who don't have a blue tick. And I very much belong in the first category.
Right.
I do not now want to be immersed into a wider ranging category, which includes some of those who are not blue tickable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wonder whether this is a move by Twitter to actually try and wipe out one of the scourges of social media, which are all these people with fake accounts. And so that if you have to prove that you are who you say you are, then you get a blue tick. And that might actually help, because you and I both have to suffer occasionally the slings and arrows of these trolls.
Well...
And on that basis, I don't mind it.
It's not necessarily trolls. I don't mind people who are, in the Vote Porky party, which is a spoof account, and that sort of thing. I don't mind.
I don't think they'll get a blue tick, is what I'm saying.
No, I suppose they won't. Yeah, but I just think that, you see, I think elitism is a good thing in life, because if we have elitism, then that's aspirational.
No.
Everybody wants to be in that elite band of people at the top.
I disagree.
And that's what, I think, in a way, that's what a productive economy is all about. People trying to
get into
enhance
the
themselves, to better themselves, people with aspirations in life, people who want to take advantage of a situation in which they can improve their lot, so to speak. And I don't think we should water that down. And I think this move by Twitter, to try and be inclusive, like it's almost like telling children in the egg and spoon race at school, don't worry about not winning, you're all the same. That's not right.
Yes.
We're not all the same.
My son, by the way, got a silver and a bronze in the school sports day yesterday.
Brilliant. Well, which events
was
he?
I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to give out
all
too
right,
much
all right.
information.
But I mean, that's brilliant. I'm glad. I'm very pleased for him. Well done.
Now, if I read you a list of some of the names I've got following me with blue ticks, all right, let's see if you know who any of them are.
Okay.
Because I think that would be good. How about this one? Keith Lasley.
Keith Lasley? Never heard of him.
He's a part-time footballer, dad, and Leicester chef, he says.
Sounds like a decent chap.
No, he's got a blue tick. How about Kay Murray?
Kay Murray?
Yeah.
Nope, don't know her.
She's a TV football host for Bein Sport in America.
Oh, okay, very good.
How about Sean Dilley?
Oh, no, Sean. I think Sean follows me as well. Sean is a very good reporter on Sky News.
How about Matt Kelly?
Matt Kelly, I'm not aware of.
And Matt Kelly is the editor of the New European newspaper.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's a mate of yours, isn't he?
He is a mate of mine.
Yeah, well, he'd probably follow you. He's not following me, I don't think.
No, I don't think he is. Let's see, one more final one. Alex. This is one of the great one-word Twitter accounts. Just Alex.
Alex?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
He's editor-in-chief of Mattermark and former editor of TechCrunch.
What is Mattermark?
Mattermark is I guess it's some kind of data-based company.
Okay, well, in that case, he's completely irrelevant to me, and therefore I wish him luck with his blue tick, but he has no bearing on my life.
Okay, one final one.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get one here. Mark Lomas. Mark Lomas.
Is he Steve Lomas's brother?
I don't know. He's online managing editor of Sport 360, formerly of ESPN.
Okay, well, that
sounds... There's a lot of
sounds...
people with blue ticks you've never heard of.
That sounds like quite a useful job in the world of the media, which we live in as well, so good luck to him.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, what I'm telling you is that there's already loads of people with blue ticks that you've never heard of who you would consider to be less important than you. So
yes, I would actually. Yeah,
your argument is going nowhere here.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say a big thank you to Ian at O2 in Ian at O2.
Ian who?
Well, we'll just call him Ian.
Okay.
And he works at O2 in a town in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Yeah.
And my phone went completely bonkers this week, and I couldn't get it to work on what was it? On G4? No. G4?
4G.
4G, that's right, yeah, on 4G. and
G4 a security company?
No, it was 4G. And I got in there, and he recognised that it was overloaded with data.
No, it wasn't overloaded with data. It didn't have enough data.
Didn't have enough data, that's right, yeah. And,
so basically you weren't paying enough money to get enough data?
Well, no, I pay huge amounts.
So you're paying £100 a month, right?
Yeah.
Which is about 100 times more than most people pay.
Yeah.
And it's still not enough. So now they've convinced you to pay how much a month?
Another £5 a month. But that's because I keep leaving all these apps open,
right?
Apparently, and when you use like an app or something...
Like
or
what? Which apps do you keep open?
Chrome.
Chrome?
Yeah.
Well, it's just a search engine.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. But if you leave the search engine open, it takes up all your data.
What are you searching for? Apart from the truth and justice.
Well, secret truth and justice, sure. But I mean all sorts of facts to make sure that, when we go through a show, we are on the ball.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right, then. Mr. Parry's still struggling with his technology and his information devices.
Yeah, but he fixed it for me.
We'll try and
his dad's a big fan, so I wrote his dad a picture and an autograph.
You did?
I did.
Yeah, what a top man you are.
And took a picture and we sent it to him.
Oh, very nice.
Saying what a good boy your son is.
Well done.
Okay.
Thank you so much indeed for
And
letting
his
us
dad's
know.
name, by the way, was Barry.
Have you seen the time, by the way?
Don't worry about it.
I do worry about it. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk jousting, and of course, listography is back as well. This is TalkSport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The two mics on TalkSport.
Bees have human face recognition. They can recognise humans and come back and say hello to you again.
Rubbish.
They do. The reason beekeepers wear veils is because they want to disguise themselves from the bee.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two mics. We're in for Colin Murray all a week. Coming up in this hour, we're going to do Watch of the Day, one of the selection of Mike Parry's amazing timepieces that he's been bringing in for the last few days. Also, of course, we're going to be talking about what's going on with the jousting situation.
Yep.
Should it be part of the Olympics or not?
Jousting?
The way people are dropping out.
Jousting?
Jousting, the way people are dropping out of the Olympics, it might have to be put in, next month down in Rio. Also, of course, it's listography. We're going to be running through a few choices that people have suggested for us. You're listening to the two mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. Now, I can say that during that period of the news, I was able to take a picture of you with your new Watch of the Day scenario.
Well, it's not a new watch, it's a part of my collection.
Well, no, it's part of your collection. I can tell that it's not a new watch. It looks hideously old.
Our feature is, as you quite rightly say, a new feature, and that is the Watch of the Day.
Watch of the Day. Yeah. You've got 26 of them. I mean, have you counted up how many we've seen so far?
Well, you've seen one a day.
So it must be up to about 7 or 8 now, right?
Yeah, since about last Friday. about 7 or 8.
Yeah, okay.
Plenty more to come.
I'll just put one out, and now it's black. You may wish to describe it. It's a Casio, is that what you're saying?
This is the world's strongest watch. It's a G-Shock, Casio G-Shock, shock resist. It has many functions, including adjust, H-set, mode, and light. It's got a light. Okay.
That's got a light, has it?
It's got a light, yeah.
Does that still work?
Well, that's in case you're in the dark, you see.
Yeah. Well, you're often in the dark, aren't you?
Yeah. Now, and when our millions of listeners see the illustration or the image of this watch, they'll realise that this is the watch I wear when I'm tramping across the North or South Downs.
Right. Not in the dark, though.
No, in pursuit of good health.
Yeah.
And it's waterproof, it's damage-proof, it's made of rubber rather than metal.
Yeah.
So if I sort of,
And has it got the right time?
Does it fell to the ground, I wouldn't smash it or anything like that.
Does it say the right time on it?
Yeah, it's got the right time, absolutely.
Right.
In a few different ways. And then, of course, if you see these silver buttons around the edge, if you press two of them in the right combination, you can move the fingers.
The fingers?
Yeah.
What, do you mean the arms?
Yeah, that's right, the arms. Because twice a year I have to struggle with getting that right when the hour changes.
Yeah.
And in fact, one year I struggled so much I just left it. And I didn't wear it until 6 months' time when it came back.
When you tweeted out earlier on in the day that you were going to bring in the world's strongest watch, somebody actually said, why don't you try and smash it with a hammer? It did occur to me to bring one in and give it a go.
Well, that wouldn't be a very good idea.
Well, because I think I might be able to smash it.
And, by the way, I've had this now about a year and the battery's never run out on it.
So did you actually buy this watch then? This is not one that was given to you for a free flight somewhere? Or,
I bought 3 of these at the same time.
An Arab sheikh didn't give it to you?
No, I bought 3 of these at the same time.
Why?
I bought one to use in my South Coast pad for when I go walking along the Solent.
Yeah.
I bought one for my... Sorry, what's the problem?
Why would you buy 3 watches the same?
Well, I'm telling you, I bought one for my pad in Stockbroker Belt.
Yeah.
And then
so what's the third one for?
It's a spare in case any of the other 2 go missing or damage.
We should point out at this point that you're a great believer in having backup materials, don't you? Because you've got how many kettles have you got? Spare kettles in the cupboard?
I've got 1 spare kettle in each wardrobe.
Yes,
boxed up and not
3,
opened. Yeah. Well, if a kettle blows, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Well, you're not in that much trouble.
Well, you haven't got a kettle, have you?
You boil water on the top of the stove if you have to.
Who'd want to do that?
Yeah, until you get a new kettle, though. There's no point having... Anyway, according to my research here, you could get one of those for 68 quid.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, I thought they were a bit cheaper than that. I thought they were 25 quid or something. But I think you're right. I think I paid about 200 quid for 3 of them.
For 3?
Yes, I think you're right.
That's
in fact, I think I might even have 4, actually.
Why would you have a 4th one? 2 spares?
I think I've spotted a 4th one.
Really?
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Now, should we decide what our listography is going to be? We're going to do it at 12:30. Now, this is something that we used to do every day, but because of the things being so busy on this show, we thought we'd just do it once a week. We had a couple of very, very good suggestions, and I quite like the one that's come in about 3 Olympic events that you would have been excellent at.
I like that.
Could you prepare for them properly?
Yeah, I like that.
Would you like to do that one?
Yeah, I think that's great.
All right, so we'll prepare for that one, and that'll be coming up at about 12:30.
And what time will we be talking to our millions of listeners about that?
Well, I just said 12:30.
Oh, right, OK. Now, listen, there's something else I want to talk to you about.
Good.
I think that Pep Guardiola's attire on the touchline...
A very stylish man.
I think it's slightly worrying.
No, he's wearing some very, very expensive...
He looks like he's off for a night on the old...
No, he looks like a guy that you would see wandering about in Barcelona in the evening, quite
does,
warm weather.
That's what I mean.
Warm weather. He's wearing what you might describe as rather crinkly-looking trousers, which are khakis, which I wear quite a lot of, and they're very narrow at the bottom, which I like.
And they're what I would call drain pipes.
Drain pipes, yeah, they look great.
Legs.
They look great, and they look like they're maybe Banana Republic,
old grey top.
Banana Republic or something like that. A very not scruffy grey top. That's all he's wearing. Is he not a Manchester City embossed
I don't think so. Don't think so.
What's the badge on there?
Well, it does look like the Manchester City logo to me.
I bet it is.
I don't think it is.
Look at his watch, by the way. He's got one of those really massive footballer-type watches.
That looks like it could be a Casio, actually.
No, I don't think so.
A sort of slightly bigger version of
mine.
mine.
I think it's one of those big
I think he looks far too casual.
What do you think about his shoes? He's wearing those kind of, what look like also very expensive designer sort of boots.
I know, and I think he looks like a fashion statement on the touchline, and I'm a bit worried about it.
They might be Louboutins, actually.
I think that, managers like that should either wear the tracksuit mode, so that they're, like Tony Pulis type mode, okay? Yeah. Or they should go down the Mark Hughes route of a very smart suit.
If you're gonna compare Tony Pulis and Pep Guardiola in terms of style, I think there's only one winner there.
Well, I'm only saying. Tony Pulis, they make jokes about it and they say, has he raided the shop again? And, he's got the baseball cap, he's got the full tracksuit, he's got the cravat and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? If there was a cravat. And I'm a bit uneasy on that because it looks to me like he can't wait to get the game over so he can join his mates for a visit to a tapas bar somewhere in downtown Barcelona after the show.
But this is one of the things this is one of the things he's going to bring to the Premier League. He's going to bring great style. I mean, I'd rather look at a man dressed like that than I used to see, for example, his predecessor, right? The Chilean, who would sometimes pop up wearing a 3-piece suit, with his waistcoat, right?
They were never 3-piece suits, I used to think they were. But
no, they were.
No, that thing in the middle was a cardigan. It was never... No, it wasn't a waistcoat.
He quite often wore a waistcoat.
I think you're fine, it was a cardigan.
Suit. No, I think you're fine, I'm right there.
But at least they look distinguished, whereas...
You prefer that, do you?
Yeah, I do. I
think Pep Guardiola has to be one of the coolest men in the Premier League, and I think the fact that you don't like what he's wearing is actually an endorsement of what he's wearing, because he wouldn't want to be wearing what you wear.
I just think the players will have a little bit of a difficulty mentally in looking at him and thinking, is he the boss or is he a mate of one of the other players? He's so young still, Pep Guardiola. Yeah. And again, say this loose sort of attitude towards the attire that he wears as a manager. No, it doesn't. It doesn't impress me.
I'm all in favour of it. It gets a thumbs up from me. How about this from Robin on the state of your watch? Is it made of Lego? He asks. GB says it looks like something out of a Christmas cracker.
What?
Barry says a petrol garage. Cod's wallop. Looks like he got it from a petrol station. And Danny says, I thought things were looking up, but that's got to be the worst one yet. I've got one of them out of a cereal box.
What? You're all mad. You're all mad, honestly.
And Wayne says, very cool, my 12-year-old son's got one of them.
Has he? Yeah. Well, what a lucky lad. You're a good parent for giving your son such a special appendage. Yeah. No, it's not an appendage, was it? A special...
accessory.
Accessory, thank you.
James says,
such a young age.
I don't know about G-shock, just shocking. And what sort of shock is it likely to get? Lifting a pint.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, it's got many facilities.
Wardy says, that's a $2.99 watch if ever I saw one.
No, you're
And
mad.
Richard says, isn't it hands?
Hands, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Rather
the
than
hands.
fingers and arms.
That's right. Yeah, the hands. Yeah.
So generally speaking, I think your watch, Casio G-Shock, has got the thumbs down.
No, I don't think so, because I think you'll find that there are quite a few of these Casio G-Shocks around, but this is a very superior model.
Yes.
You know?
Well, of course it is.
Yeah.
Are they all exactly the same, these 4 watches?
No.
Did you buy identical ones?
No, because another watch, which I'll show you next week, is similar to this one, but a different model again.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, you can't bring in the substitute watches as part of your collection. That's not right.
Well, it's another watch in my collection. Simple as that.
All right. Have you seen the time?
Yeah, don't worry about the time.
This is Talk
Of course
Sport.
I know about the time. I'm wearing one.
Thanks to Renault Vans, TalkSport wants to treat you and 4 mates to a VIP trip for next month's Community Shield between Leicester City and Manchester United.
That's right. Now, we'll whisk you to the capital in a Renault minibus. It'll be decked out in your team colours, and you'll be guests of honour for the weekend sports breakfast ahead of this season's big curtain raiser on Sunday, the 7th of August.
You'll then enjoy the full Wembley experience in a private box with complimentary food and drink and 5-star service.
Wowee. Enter now at talksport.com/win. That's talksport.com/win to play for this ultimate Wembley package, all thanks to Renault Vans, with you every step of the way.
Now, coming up in a little while, we're going to do listography, of course,
Indeed.
which is going to be on the 3 sports at the Olympics that we would have been very, very good at. Could we have been trained properly to do them, which should prove to be very interesting.
Oh, it will indeed. I've got a few ideas on that one.
Have you?
I could have started, but I had the time.
Well, I'm very glad.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about,
Yeah, go
right? Now, you have been married, so you've gone through the marriage ceremony.
Yes, I have.
Can you imagine the vicar saying this to you?
Yeah.
You must be prepared to love, honour, cherish and obey, and you must be able to match each other drink for drink.
Ah, yes.
Right?
I can't imagine that, but I can imagine people writing that into their vows.
Right.
Some particular bladderated types.
It comes from the University of Michigan report, which says the couple who drink together stay together. Now,
well, you see, I think that's a bit of a dodgy thing to say, to be honest.
Well, we have experience over the years, don't we, of couples that we've known who were, mutual plonkers, weren't they?
Well, true. And I mean, I think there is a tipping point as well, because, I mean, it's all very well to say...
I didn't mean mutual plonkers, I meant mutual... Dip stickers.
Dipsos.
Dipsos.
Yeah.
Mutual dipsos.
Yeah, what you mean, people that may have drunk a little bit too much.
Who drank a lot of plonk.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it's all very well to be... I mean, certainly you should be sociable together, whether it's out or in, whether it's at parties or whether it's in the house. But I think there is a danger, and I have to say that I may have experienced this in the past, without wishing to give too much away, where if you overdo it slightly, and both of you overdo it to the same extent, that it only ends in things getting smashed and and I'm not just talking about, in your own house.
It's amazing. Let me read you a bit of this report. It says the keys to a happy marriage were endlessly told are trust, respect, love, understanding and all of that. But what about going out and getting absolutely bladdered together?
Right.
When did we last hear a big 3 cheers for that? Because it turns out that couples who drink together really do stay together. University of Michigan report says that alcoholic powers of spousal bonding have been vastly underrated.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that if you see somebody at their worst and you still like them, then that's probably a good recipe for a long-standing marriage. And an awful lot of people, when they get drunk, do turn into a different person, don't they?
Well, they do.
And so it's better to know that than not to know it, I suppose.
But the actual crux of this matter, because I've studied quite a lot of the report, which you haven't had time to do.
I haven't seen the report,
because you don't get up early enough, right?
Well, I mean, I wasn't aware that the report was available.
Yeah, well, it was available
you
to
always
me.
very jealously guard these journals.
It's available to me. The main point they're making is, it's not like, for instance, two minds thinking together.
Yeah.
The problem is that if there's one drinker in the relationship and the other isn't, it's the one who isn't who gets fed up. You see what I mean?
No, I'm not surprised.
It's
a bit like when, I don't know if you've ever done this, I suspect you never have, but when, for whatever brief period you give up drinking and you go and meet your friends in the pub and you realise actually that as a sober person, it's not that exciting.
No, it's not exciting at all. Now, this reminds me of some conquests I've had in my life.
Conquests?
Yes. It says the study does find that couples with similar drinking habits are more likely to feel happy in their relationship than those in which one person gets merry while the other remains sober. Women were particularly dissatisfied, and that the interpretation of that is bored, if they like a glass or three, but their spouse doesn't.
Yes.
The amount consumed wasn't important, just that the couple had the same desire and capacity to drink.
Yeah.
Now, the number of ladies that I've, invited out for a bit of lunch or a drink after work.
I have to say, most of your ex-girlfriends I've ever known have all liked to drink.
Exactly.
Well, because they could possibly hang around with you if they didn't.
Well, maybe. But the point is, I have met a lady who, and after the second bottle of champagne, they've said, "Oh, you're so what's the word? Flamboyant." No. Yeah. Oh, you're so generous. You're so flamboyant. Yeah. Oh, you're so indulgent of me.
Really?
And clearly, the male person they've been seeing...
Oh, what you mean, are these people who were previously attached to somebody else?
Yes, or maybe still were.
Yeah.
And who are saying, oh, gosh, you're so extravagant, I remember buying a bottle of champagne once in a hotel bar, took this young lady with me.
Did you?
She said, "Oh, you're so extravagant." And I said, no, you're...
Yeah, but you were just showing off to somebody who had never had that kind of money spent.
Yeah, I was just saying that, you deserve champagne. Yeah. Oh, really, do I? I said, you do.
I thought you didn't drink champagne. You were just doing it to show off.
I got it for her.
Yeah.
I got myself a glass of Pinot Grigio, so she had to drink the whole bottle.
Yeah.
And
another tactic of yours.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. And
Shocking behaviour.
And so I said, so it can get terribly boring. Now, on the other hand, if you get a lady who is maybe a church warden, and the husband is a
vicar.
Spends most of his time in Wetherspoons, which is a good place to spend most of your time actually, because I quite like that.
I know you do. Yeah, it's not for me.
And then you find that he goes home, and then he's 7 sheets to the wind and all that. That relationship's not going to work.
No.
So I can see the absolute sense in saying you should get together with somebody in life who has the same drinking habits as yourself.
Yeah.
Didn't work for Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, did it?
No, it didn't. Although they both drank quite heavily, didn't they?
Oh, very heavily.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very heavily. Sometimes didn't even know which country they were in.
No, exactly right.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I think they'd forgotten already they'd been married once before and they got married again. But, I mean, that's my point. I mean, it can be very kind of corrosive as well.
Yes.
Not just on the liver, but also on the things that get thrown around the house when you get into a row.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
I mean, we know friends, don't we? And we won't name them, but, we can tell somebody the first name. Bob.
You would
Bob.
normally give anybody's name away.
Yeah, Bob. I mean, Bob was a very, very heavy social drinker.
But the people that you're talking about are still married, have been living together for a very, very long time.
Exactly.
So maybe that proves the theory.
Well, maybe it does prove the theory. The other one I'm thinking about is Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach. Pair of dipsos themselves when they met and were for a couple of years.
Has he not given up now?
Oh, I was going to say, one morning they woke up and after a massive session of bottles lying around all over the place, and they just went off to rehab together.
Yeah.
And I think they've been sober for 30 years.
That is a worry when you look at the amount of empty bottles at the end of a weekend.
Yeah.
And you wonder whether you might have slightly overdone it.
Yes. And then you have to turn to the old Twitter and find out whether you upset anybody.
Well, it's one of those things now that people are very careful about, like going to the bottle recycling area on a Monday morning.
Yeah,
you have to make sure that nobody else from the school sees you doing it.
Yeah, and the other one, of course, is the end of a weekend. It's a month on till you get the bills for the credit card to prove that you've bought wine at the rate of 12 bottles a time.
Yes.
Now, can I tell you something? This is the Two Mikes.
Yeah.
We're in for Colin Murray. We're on TalkSport, and we're with Wix. So get 40% off Wix's 12-inch oscillating desk fan. Very useful in this sort of weather.
Yeah.
It was £19.99. It is now £11.24.
Well done. It's actually £12.27. This is TalkSport.
I've never seen this film, have you?
Yeah, of course I have.
No, I haven't.
Well, you've never seen... the one thing that you will always remember, surely, is them running along the beach at St Andrews.
No, I've never seen it, you see.
But you must have seen the clip of the film.
I love the music. It's Vangelis, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Is Vangelis a bloke or a group?
He was a guy. He's a Greek guy.
Oh, a Greek guy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so...
Why is it great?
Well, it's great music, haunting music and all that.
It is haunting, yeah.
And I've
seen... Surely you must have seen that little clip.
No, I've seen a clip of them running around the quad in slow motion, right, to this music.
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it? And
well, for me, the more famous...
arms are going like this.
The more famous clip... Trying to hit the microphone. The more famous clip is of them actually on the beach.
Yeah,
they shot it on the beach at St Andrews. It always reminds me of St Andrews, which has got a fantastic beach.
But I think it would be a very slow film. If the plot's all about two men competing in a race and all the preparation for the race sounds awfully boring to it, so I never went to see it.
It's quite tense, but it did win Oscars, you know that.
But anyway, what film was it?
It was Chariots of Fire, obviously.
And who was the director?
It was all about it was the English guy, wasn't
David Putnam.
David Putnam, that's right. It was all about, the Olympic spirit and the Olympic sort of ideal and all of that. So
Harold was one of the guys, wasn't he? Harold?
Harold.
Wasn't Harold one of the guys?
He might have been. I can't remember.
No, he was.
This is not a quiz about the Chariots of Fire, the movie.
The two characters were played by Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
And somebody. One of them was Harold, the famous runner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you've got some knowledge of it.
Okay.
Anyway, by the way, tomorrow's quiz is going to be on Formula One.
It certainly is.
Ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix.
That's right.
So that's what we're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Listography, however, today has been chosen, and it is the three Olympic events that you would have been great at.
Yes.
Whether you were able to get proper training.
Yes,
for
that's
them.
right. Yeah.
Now I'm going to suggest that two of mine are ones that I would have already had quite good training
Right,
for,
go on.
because they're things that I'm already quite good at,
Right.
or at least have been in the past.
Right.
And the first one's golf.
But golf's not an Olympic sport. It's not a proper Olympic sport.
Excuse me, they are playing golf in the Olympics in Rio.
Yeah, but it's not a proper Olympic
it's an
sport.
Olympic
Go
sport.
for a more traditional one.
You can't tell me what to go for.
You should go
Is
for
golf an Olympic sport or not?
You should go for things that only
Is golf an Olympic sport?
that only take place in the Olympics and there's not a worldwide game elsewhere every day of the week.
Well, that's ridiculous because everything in the Olympics
that's a cop-out.
Has competition in other areas. For example, do you think athletics only takes place in the Olympics?
Well, no. But
there's a World Athletics Championship.
Yeah, but the high jump and all that sort of stuff, you don't see people doing that when you're driving down the A3. You do see them playing golf. Anyway, it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out.
So once again, because it doesn't involve anything outside of your world, you think it's not true.
No.
Golf is an Olympic sport, okay?
Well,
and I
just about.
I would have been very good at it, particularly now that hardly anybody's going to play golf from this part of the world and from the Americans as well.
Right.
Because as you well know,
I think it's a bit pathetic.
My handicap got down as low as 9 at one point.
Really?
And, I've played an awful lot of great golf courses in the world, and I think I would have been able to be at least in contention if I was able to concentrate on it properly for one of the kind of final medals.
But I mean, if you were any good, wouldn't you have tried to become, like, first of all, a club professional and then got onto the tour?
No. Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about, what you could have done in life, you could go almost anywhere with that.
Anyway, right,
let's have one of yours then.
Right,
yours will be, I predict, totally and utterly ridiculous based upon what you wish you could have done.
No.
Like, for example, how you wanted to be a Spitfire pilot.
No. I didn't have any great speed. I was never going to win 100 metres, all that.
You surprised me.
I had power and strength. So my first one...
Power and strength.
Yeah, my first one would be throwing the hammer.
Throwing the hammer.
Now the hammer's not a hammer; it's like a weight on the end of a cable, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
With a handle,
a big round ball.
And and you go round and round and round and round and round, and then at the very moment that you know, bang, you let it go. And I think I could have done brilliantly well in that.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I can't see it.
I can.
I just can't see it.
I can see it.
I can see you going round and round and round and round and then just staggering off into the net.
No.
Because you'd be so discombobulated.
No, not at all.
All right. My second one, is shooting.
Shooting,
which is also an Olympic sport. Now, you might argue, it's
another just about Olympic sport.
You see people
getting
shot all the time.
Yeah.
That's not my point, right? I believe that if I'd been trained properly, I could have been a very, very good target shooter. I've only ever shot a gun once in my life.
Would you have been my dart equivalent of Dead-Eye Dick with your gun?
I'll tell you what, you'd be the first person on the list for assassination if I was able to do it.
Sure, yeah.
But I once shot a gun in the...
You're always too drunk to be able to point a gun in the right direction.
That's just more projection from you.
Yeah,
I once shot a gun in the New York Police Department's firing range, which is up in the Bronx.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe how heavy it was, actually. But I was quite good at it. They said I had a natural talent for it. So I'd be entering myself as the...
Did it match your ability to put wine down your throat?
My ability
red,
in
white,
the drinking area
whiskey.
is nothing compared to your ability for dipsomania. But carry on.
Anyway, go on,
Go on.
So my second one.
Yeah, your second one, please.
How about this, you see? This is going to shock you, see, because I've got broader thinking than you have.
Have you?
The bobsleigh. The bobsleigh, okay? The
bobsleigh.
Yeah.
It's a Winter Olympic sport.
Yeah, but it's still Olympics, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And guess what? I wouldn't have been the jerk at the back who pushes it and then just about gets on.
Yeah, right.
I'd have been the guy steering.
Of course you would.
I would, yeah. I'd be the guy steering.
You sure they steer it from the front?
Yeah, of course they do.
You sure they don't steer it from the back?
No.
Are you certain? Would you be the 4-man bob or the 2-man? Or would you rather be in the 2-woman bob?
No, being the 2-man bob. Because I think 4's a bit cumbersome, a bit bulky.
Actually, in your case, it would be the 2-bob bob.
No, be the 2-man bob. I'd be brilliant at that, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure. And with a bit of training. And do you know why? Because to do that, you've got to be absolutely fearless.
Yeah.
The first time you do it, I'm told, all you do is scream, because you think any minute now you're going to come off the track and hit ice and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's a very dangerous sport. What about this skeleton? I mean, that's the one that's really scary.
No, do you know I don't like that?
It's like going down on a tray.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is you go down feet first.
Yeah.
So if you run into anything, you would smash to pieces your manly appendages.
Yeah, you might do. Well, I think that'd be the least of your worries.
Which I don't fancy that.
No, that would be the least of your worries. Okay, well, my third one is something else that I was formerly very good at when I was young.
Okay.
When I was young, and that was table tennis.
Table tennis.
I used to play for City and East London College, in one of the college leagues.
Yes.
And one of the things that people always were amazed by was the fact that I used to use a Chinese pen grip. Right. But I didn't just
pen grip.
And the pen PC don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
the Chinese pen grip was developed by the Chinese ping pong players.
Okay,
back in the sort of 70s, I think.
Okay,
and I adopted it because I thought this is great. But not only did I play it, which is where you just play with one side of the face of the bat, I would also use the back of the bat, which used to very much fox people. And I was very good at table tennis, so I reckon I'd be in a good contention for the table tennis team.
Yeah, really.
Like your good mate who writes
Matthew
for the Times, Matthew Side,
who actually said that his career as a table tennis player ended the first time he took part in the Olympics because he simply lost his bottle on the day.
Did he?
Yeah, he said it was such a, you'd been training for it for 3 or 4 years or something like that, and then on the day he just had a bad day, just had a poor day, and he said that's the way it can happen, Anyway, my third is not very far away from what you've just been talking about, and it would be, in fact, badminton.
Badminton?
Yes.
What, because you had a badminton set in the garden?
No, because I used to play it at the Northgate Arena in Chester, and I was a whiz with it. Absolute whiz,
Did you play doubles or
Play doubles, with my mate, and we used to take on everybody. It was before we went out on the bladderation trail on a Monday night to try and ease our conscience.
Did you have your own badminton racket?
I had my own badminton racket.
And your own shuttlecock?
Own shuttlecocks and all that, and I was...
really?
Yeah, it was a great game as well, because, it stretched the limits of endurance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
your three are the hammer...
Yes.
The bobsleigh...
Yes.
And
badminton.
Badminton.
Yeah. Why do you find that amusing?
I just find them greatly amusing.
Yeah, well, yours are greatly amusing.
No, mine are much more straightforward.
No.
Golf, table tennis, and shooting.
What's more straightforward than a game of badminton? Huh?
Well, I'm not sure badminton really should be an Olympic sport.
It does for me.
But there we are. Very good.
Right.
Those are our three listographies.
Yeah.
A couple of points here being made. Robbie says, Porky goes around and around and around, then falls over. Hashtag hammer time.
And around and around and around we go.
John says, how about the two bob watch sleigh, which is quite good.
Two bob watch
And Sam says, isn't Vangelis related to Van Heusen, who I think may also be family with Mr. Paco Rabanne, fashionista plank.
He makes my shirts. Yeah. Who's this chap who sent you a tweet saying that his dad interviewed me years ago?
Oh, yeah, that was, the guy that I was mentioning to you, Matt Kelly, who's from the New European.
Do you know, it's absolutely amazing.
And a guy that I used to work with at the Mirror, good mate of mine, Jed on the Wirral, says that he's the son of Vincent Kelly, who interviewed you at the Liverpool Echo and Daily Post.
He did.
Many years ago.
He was known as Vinnie Kelly.
Was he?
And I was working on the Evening Chronicle at the time, right?
Yeah.
So my first evening paper after the Chester Chronicle was the Evening Chronicle.
Okay.
And a vacancy came up, and I was tipped off about it by my good mate Ian Callister.
Oh, yeah. And
Ian Callister, known as Cally, was the Chester and North Wales correspondent for the Post and Echo, but a rabid, massive Everton fan.
Right.
And he and me and 3 other guys used to crowd into his Ford Escort every Saturday and drive over to Goodison to watch Everton.
By the way. For this
but then he rang me up and he said, Mike, do you want me to put your name forward? Yes, please. I got called down, went to the interview with Vinnie Kelly. Vinnie Kelly told me after he didn't give me the job because he thought I spent too much time in pubs.
Yeah, well, it was clearly
because he
great
asked me about the last 6 great stories I'd got, and every one of them would come out of a pub.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, he's obviously a great judge of character.
Well, I don't know about that.
You're not suited to that sort of job. Adam says Chariots of Fire. Putnam was not the director; he was the producer.
Oh, well, there you
he
go.
also did not star Jeremy Irons. It was Ian Charlson and Ben Cross.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I'm confusing it with Brideshead Revisited.
Yeah, Brideshead Revisited. Yeah, because that wasn't about the Olympics at all, was it?
No, but it was about Oxford University students.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Of course, we are going to be giving you the Porky quiz tomorrow. And ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix, it is, of course, going to be the Formula One business, which is going to be the subject of the quiz.
Yes.
Now, just before we talk to Dominic Sewell, who's an expert jouster,
indeed,
by the way. Yeah. Not sure if you've ever spoken to an expert jouster before.
We certainly haven't.
Let me just say this. Every day this week, we're giving away a £100 Wix gift card for the best caller of the day. Today's winner, picked by Mr. Parry, is Scott, the West Ham fan, who came on a little bit earlier on in the show.
That's right.
Congratulations, Scott.
Vehemently disagreed with me about the Sam Allardyce situation,
He did.
but put up a very strong argument, so congratulations.
And he's got £100 of Wicks
enjoy the buns, mate.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's talk to Dominic Sewell, because there is an English heritage plan afoot to basically bring jousting into the Olympics. And Mr. Sewell is an expert jouster, so let's find out what it's all about. Dominic, a very good afternoon to you.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah,
very well indeed, thank you.
Very well indeed. Now, we've been discussing this over the course of the show, and of course there's many different Olympic events which have been included. For example, this year we've got golf, which some people think is a bit ridiculous. What argument can English Heritage make, or can you make, to convince us and the Olympic Committee that jousting should be included?
Well, I think if you're lucky enough to be able to go and see a top-level joust, authentic historical joust, you're going to see people who are training on a daily basis, not only themselves physically, but also their horses, to compete at the highest levels, which takes a lot of dedication, the same type of dedication that, of course, all our athletes, whether they are 100-metre runners or 800-metre runners or indeed golfers, can expect to see at a high-level platform such as the Olympics. These are professional athletes, some might say professional martial artists, because indeed jousting is a martial art. And, of course, the Olympics grew out of those type of martial sports. So we think that, the platform is there to bring sport that is a little different and somewhat historical back onto an international level that everyone can see, because it's already an international sport.
OK. Now, Dominic, I didn't even know that jousting was a live, ongoing sport. I thought it was something that died in the Middle Ages, OK? And you can hardly blame me, because, most of us see it in films about Ivanhoe and all that kind of stuff. Now, how is it kept alive? Because unless you've got a stately home, you ain't really going to be able to provide anybody with an arena in which you can joust.
Well, I think I'd actually disagree with that, because I've been able to take events to, let's say, urban environments where you wouldn't normally see jousting. For example, last year I took a joust to the centre of Peterborough, of all places, where I was able to put on a joust outside the cathedral. Yes, of course, the normal place to expect to see jousting is in stately homes, but it doesn't have to be there. We can take jousts anywhere, and English Heritage are very keen to bring jousting to many urban environments that haven't seen it before. So the Olympics would be a great place to start.
Isn't it an incredibly dangerous sport, Dominic? Because when you used to see it in these films and all that, the whole idea is a man with a lance gallops at another man with a lance, and the one who gets his lance to knock the other guy's head off first is the winner.
Well, it's not quite about removing people's heads. It's about breaking your lance upon your opponent and giving them the strongest blow possible.
Yes, unless you're the Black Knight and you want to cheat,
I don't think the Black Knight get into the Olympics. He failed a drugs test, wouldn't he? But, I mean, what about
I would have thought so. Everybody that I know in the sport is very honourable and very honest.
But, presumably the lance is not what it was in the Middle Ages, which was a very pointy metal thing. Have you got... is yours more blunt than that?
At the highest levels, it does have a metal tip, but that metal tip is blunted. It's called a coronel, and it's a three-pronged tool. It's actually a safety feature, because what that does is the prong bites into the wood of the shield, and that allows all the energy in the lance to go upwards, and that makes the lance break. And, of course, you're scoring points by where you break your lance upon your opponent. You can only hit him from the waist up. The best place to hit him is on the helmet, but most people go for the shield, because that's where you're going to get your safe number of points.
But hang on, if you hit him on the helmet, aren't you in danger of giving the man brain damage?
Well, no, that's why he's wearing a helmet.
Bear in mind, just like Formula One, of which there are many similar analogies, the level of safety and the level of defence for these riders is of utmost paramount importance, and the weight and the way the helmets are made make them incredibly safe.
Right. Now, you were saying, Dominic, that
we have a very strong safety record.
That it's already like an international sport. I mean, the only time I've seen anything around jousting, it's always been when I've taken my kids to one of these kind of medieval reenactments or something like that. I mean, which other countries are involved in jousting?
Well, the list is very long. Well, I'll go through some of the bigger ones quicker. Holland, Germany, Russia, USA, Australia, New Zealand, France, Italy, Spain, England.
I mean, that's great.
It goes on.
You can't let the Russians in, can you?
No, well, I wouldn't have thought so. Not with Mr. Putin in the current mood he's in.
Some kind of explosive tip on
Is the uniform of jousting, Dominic, as we would have seen it in Plantagenet Britain?
In Plantagenet Britain, certainly in the time of Richard III, yes.
Yeah.
Most medieval jousting is based upon the mid to late 15th century armours. Of course, armour, like most other things, develops from 1066 right through until jousting finally starts to decline a little bit, all the way into the 17th century. It's really only the Civil War that stopped jousting from being a popular sport.
Right.
Jousts were held to celebrate the accession of Charles.
So do you wear all that? Do you wear all the finery now and chainmail?
I am wearing 3/4 of my finery now, as you like to determine it.
Why are you wearing it now?
Yeah.
I am just finished
like wearing
first training session here at Dover Castle.
Going out in the pool.
In preparation for the event this weekend at Framlingham Castle in Suffolk, which is where I'm going to be all weekend.
And is your horse
draped? You gentlemen like to come and see it?
Is your horse draped in all those wonderful tapestries with the coats of arms on them?
He is.
Excellent.
He is, absolutely.
So where are you doing it next weekend?
This weekend we're at Framlingham Castle.
Framlingham, okay.
Yep. And then we move on to Pendennis Castle.
Pendennis, that's fantastic. Yeah, King Arthur.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
I mean, just finally, because we're out of time, Dominic, what's the time scale on this? I mean, if you are, serious about it, you have to get the Olympic Committee to look at it over the next sort of 10 years, right?
Absolutely. I'm an ambassador for the sport, and what I'm trying to do is get similar leaders in different countries together so we can organise an overarching committee and then organise ourselves into a governing body. Then we can go forward and request from the federation that we can be the examples that we can be given, and maybe even choosing it as a demonstration sport.
Yeah.
Maybe not at Tokyo, but maybe in the future when maybe a host nation gets to choose it.
Yeah.
If it comes to Western Europe, there's a good chance that maybe they'll want to try jousting because that's the heritage of many, many European countries.
Right. Okay.
Well, Dominic, thanks for taking
Thank
the time.
you very much
to
for
talk
talking to us.
And good luck with it. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well have jousting if you're going to have golf, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm sure we'll be talking about that for many, many weeks and months to come.
Indeed.
We're nearly done.
Nearly done, yeah.
Hawksby and Jacobs are coming up, of course, at 1 o'clock. This is Talk Sport.